In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. At the end of the test, you will be given 7 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now, turn to Part 1. Part 1. Directions. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. We are ready to start. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 8. Question 1.
I thought the bus leaves on the hour.
It usually does, but this is the holiday schedule.
I completely forgot. I hope we won't be late for the game.
Question 2.
May I help you?
Please, I'm looking for foreign magazines.
They're in aisle 2, at the back, next to the greeting cards.
Question 3.
Is that sound coming from the engine?
I'm not sure. It could be the air conditioner.
Let's pull over and take a look.
Question 4.
Paul, where did you learn how to read blueprints?
I grew up with them. My parents had an architectural company, and they would always explain things to me.
I'll be building a house next year. Maybe we can do some business together.
Question
I
5.
think that new assistant manager is going to work out, don't you?
Yes, I've heard that he helps the staff out and hardly anyone calls in sick anymore.
He'll probably be the manager before you know it.
Question 6.
Hello, room service? I ordered breakfast over half an hour ago.
I'm sorry, sir, but the kitchen has been very busy this morning. We'll have your breakfast up to your room immediately.
Please hurry. We have to check out soon if we're going to catch our plane.
Question 7.
Maria, could we go over these blueprints for the supermarket after lunch?
Yes, I just have to fax these specifications to the draftsman.
I hope it won't take long. We need to make some minor changes.
Question 8.
That's a pretty good sunburn you got there, Sam.
I know. We were just about to leave the beach when we ran into some old friends.
Here, try this cream. It should help.
This is the end of Part 1. Now turn to Part 2. Part 2. Questions 9 to 20. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the right answer. A, B, C, or D. We are ready to start. First, you have some time to look at questions 9 to 12. Questions 9 to 12. First, You have some time to look at questions 9 to 12.
Listen to Jessica talking to Frank about a dance class. Tick A, B, or C. Now listen to the conversation.
Hi, Frank. Are you coming to the dance class at 8 o'clock this evening?
Hi, Jessica. Yes, I finish work at 7:30, but I need to be home by 9. How long is the class?
Oh, don't worry. The class is 45 minutes long, not an hour. Some people stay later to do half an hour extra exercise, but you don't have to.
OK. What do I need to bring?
Just wear comfortable sports clothes. You can leave your trainers at home because the teacher doesn't want us to wear shoes. And bring lots to drink.
I'm not very fit. Is that a problem?
No. There are people of all ages there and lots of them aren't very fit. But tell the teacher if you have never done dance classes before.
Are the classes expensive?
The price has just changed from £5 to £6. It's still a good price, though, because other classes at the sports centre cost £8.
OK. Shall I come to your house at 7:30?
I'm going straight from college. There's a cafe in the sports centre, so let's meet there.
OK. See you later.
Questions 13 to 16. First, you have some time to look at questions.
You will hear an
13 to
Englishwoman
16.
called Britta talking to an interviewer about her life in Berlin, the capital of Germany. For each question, put a tick in the correct box. Now we are ready to start. Listen carefully. You will hear the recording twice.
Britta, you're English, but you live in Berlin. Have you lived here for a long time?
Well, I was born in England, but I've lived in Germany for the past 20 years. I arrived in Berlin about 4 years ago. Before that, I lived in Bonn for 6 years. But I work as a journalist, and when the newspaper moved to Berlin, I moved with them.
Were you pleased to come to Berlin?
Yes, I was. I was looking forward to being in a big city like Berlin. Bonn was quite a lot smaller, so I love the busy atmosphere and all the cultural entertainments here, museums, theatres and so on. The only thing I don't like is the traffic. It's a bit noisy in the mornings. It wakes me up about 6:30, but most days I have to get up early anyway.
Where do you live in Berlin?
I have a flat in the old part of the city. It's right in the centre, and it's not too expensive. It costs me about £500 a month. My street is becoming very popular. There are lots of new art galleries and small cafes and friendly restaurants everywhere. Eating out in Berlin is fun and it's cheap, so it's something I do quite often.
How do you find transport in Berlin?
Well, the transport system here is very good. So I have a tram and bus ticket. But in fact, most of the time I cycle. Travel here is much cheaper than in other countries I know. Perhaps that's why people don't walk very much.
What do you like to do in Berlin at the weekends?
Well, I like art, so sometimes I go to one of the galleries. I have a nephew called Philippe. He's only 3, but he likes coming with me. He likes the cafe best, I think. And it's a change from going to the park. That's something he does very often. He usually comes out with me while his parents go shopping.
Do you miss your friends and family in England?
I don't really miss England. Most of my friends are here. I don't see much of my work colleagues socially, but I've got some very good friends who live in the same street as me. I enjoy meeting people, and I find Berlin is a very friendly city.
Thank you for talking to us, Britta.
Questions 17 to 20. First, you have some time to look at questions
Hi,
17
Jan.
to 20.
I'm going to go to London on the train. Come with me.
But it's cheaper by bus.
I've got a student travel card. You can get cheap train tickets with it.
Well, that sounds good. How much does it cost?
A card for 6 months is £16.
So how do I get one?
You need some photographs. One for the card and one for the form.
Oh. There's a photo machine in the post office. It gives you 4 photos for £3.
So does the one in the library. But I went to a photographer's shop. It was cheaper.
I don't have to show my passport or my driving licence, do I?
That's right, Jan.
you only need a letter from your college.
I'll ask my teacher for one.
And then you take everything to the tourist office by the travel agents.
Great! Next time you go to London, I'll come too.
This is the end of part 2, 21 to 25. Now turn to part 3. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
So we are continuing our discussions on academic success. Did you read the articles?
Yes, I did. They were quite interesting, but I'm not sure that I agree with them.
I read them, and I did some extra reading too. It really made me think.
Okay, so Rosa, you first today. Can you tell us what you found out?
Well, the article is based on a research project done in the UK. The researchers wanted to know if the normal intelligence test, the IQ test, is the best way to predict academic success. In other words, if you test children's IQ and then see how well they do in their later education, will there be a correlation? Will the children who had higher IQs go on to be more successful than those with lower IQs?
And what did they find?
They actually found that the IQ test was not the best predictor. It was better to look at something called working memory. Working memory is the memory we use to hold information for a short time while we process it. For example, remembering numbers while we add them up in our head.
Okay. Do you get that, Jenny?
Yes, I know about working memory. They tested mine when I was at school. It wasn't very good, actually.
Oh, anyway, the researchers found that children who had a good working memory were more likely to succeed than children who didn't. And this was a more accurate predictor than their IQ test scores. They tested children at 5 years old and again at 11. And the results were clear. The children with better working memories were more successful, but the children with higher IQs were not necessarily better later.
Right. You say you did further reading. What did you find?
Well, I haven't finished all the articles, but some people seem to disagree. It's quite a difficult thing to prove. I haven't got enough information yet. And I can't believe it, knowing how smart Jenny is now.
No, I know what you mean. Okay, Rosa. When you have finished, you can let us know what you find out. So, Jenny, what was the gist of your article?
Thanks. Well, like Rosa's, my article is about predicting success in college. But it is not looking at intelligence or memory. It is about parents and schools. Research in the U.S. showed that the way the parents brought up their children made more difference than the schools they went to, so expensive private schools were a waste of money if the parents didn't do the right things at home. I find that very hard to believe from my experience.
Can you explain why? Was there something wrong with the research, do you think?
No, it's just that from a personal perspective, I went to a private school.
Questions 26 to 30. First, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.
Hi, it's good to see you all here today. And what a pity the weather is so bad for your first day at university. It could at least have stayed sunny today. Now, my name is Pat Baker. I work for Student Services, and I'm going to tell you all about our mentoring scheme for new students. We've had it in place for a few years now, and people starting at university for the first time in general find it a very positive experience at these meetings. What happens is this. Each of you, if you want to, that is, will be assigned a mentor. That is, someone who's been studying here for a year or two and who can show you the ropes. In other words, show you how things work, give you advice if you need it, and just generally be a friendly contact for you in the university. Of course, you'll have your tutors and lecturers who will also help you with academic problems, but this is someone more your own age who has been through the same experience quite recently. What the mentor does is have a group of usually 2 or 3 students, and he or she organises meetings, preferably about once every 2 weeks. we generally find that more than that's just too often, where you chat about your problems, university life, or just about things in general, and your mentor will give you the benefit of his or her experience. If you're joining this scheme, you'll be meeting your mentor today, just after lunch. If you haven't signed up, by the way, it's not too late. Come and see me after the talk. Don't be frightened about this first meeting. It's going to be quite short, so you won't have time to tell your mentor all your difficulties. You'll just get to know each other a little bit and, most importantly, fix a time and a place for your next meeting, which you can have when you're feeling more relaxed and not so overwhelmed by the newness of it all.
Questions 31 to 35. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 35.
Well, good evening, everyone. I've come along to talk to you about my painting. It was just a hobby, but it's really more than that now. I used to paint in the evenings, after work, but now I work 4 days a week instead of 5. That means I spend Friday, Saturday and Sunday on my painting. I have pictures in local exhibitions at least once a month. I'd love to give up my job and spend all my time painting, but I work with computers and I earn more that way. I do make some money from selling my pictures, enough to pay for all my paint, brushes and paper, and a few art lessons. I'd love to go to art college full-time for 3 years, but I've got all the rent on my flat to pay and a car to run. I first became interested in art when I was at primary school. I used to go out with some paper and a few pencils during break time and draw anything I saw. Houses, gardens, people. Then at secondary school we had art classes twice a week, and I learnt how to use chalk, and then different kinds of paint, watercolours, oils and so on. Those classes were really useful for me, and ever since then I've had lessons of some kind. I've attended evening classes and been on what they call painting holidays, where you go out into the countryside and paint during the day, and then sit and discuss your work with a teacher and the other artists after dinner. Those holidays are great. You learn so much talking to other people studying with you. I've enjoyed painting in lots of different countries. I've been to Morocco and painted desert scenes with beautiful sunrises. I've been to Greece and Spain and painted pictures of the local people working in the fields near their homes. My favourite place is still Scotland. I love walking in the Scottish mountains, and there are so many different birds to see, especially in spring. Well, I'm going to finish now by showing you a video of the places I visited. After that, there'll be a chance to relax with a cup of coffee, and then there'll be time for some questions. Oh, and I've got some information about my next art exhibition for you. It's going to be at the Queen's Gallery. Now, if someone would turn off the lights, then I can...
This is the end of the listening paper. Now you have 7 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Be sure to follow the numbering of all the questions. I'll remind you when there's 1 minute left.